What's up, guys? We got a special interview for you guys today. This is the first time I've ever done this in 12 years. I kid you not, on my YouTube channel. And actually, not 12 years. I started in 2008. So about 10 years, close enough. And we are joined here by celebrity entrepreneur Dan Locke, who's a great friend of mine and who's somebody who I've teamed up with to help my people make an extra $5,000 to $25,000 extra a month. And we'll get to that at the end of the call today. And what we want to talk about first today is we want to get you to get familiar with Dan. He was recently on my podcast, and it was one of the most popular podcasts on the Vince Del Monte podcast show. I've been getting literally DM'd a couple times a day from people that listen to that podcast. So I asked Dan, could you come on my YouTube channel? As you guys know, we're moving towards helping men becoming better men by maximizing the 5 M's of manhood: muscle, mindset, money, mission, and marriage. All right. So that money is a very important piece. So we thought today we kick off our conversation with a popular question. And that's, why are people struggling financially? You know, I just did some research and found out that 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And Dan, I want to welcome you to the Vince Del Monte YouTube channel. And we're just going to dig right in here, man. But yeah, you ready for this, bro?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool, man. So what do you think, man, from all your experience of being in business and consulting and being a TEDx speaker and, you know, literally growing multiple companies, millions of dollars in all these different companies, what are the common themes that you're identifying?
I would say the 3 reasons why people struggle financially, in spite that they want to be more successful financially, want to make more money, they want to have more freedom. I think number 1 is most people, we were never taught money. Mm-hmm. Think about growing up. Since you were a baby, the minute you were born, the nurse, she doesn't have money. The doctor, they helped. He didn't have a lot of money. He had a lot of debt. Your parents, chances are, unless you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, they didn't have money. Your uncle, your aunt, your teacher in school, growing up, your relatives, the people you hang around with at kindergarten, at college, at high school, most of them don't have money. So think about it. Growing up, people surrounding you, none of them have a lot of money. So how would you know how money works or how to create a lot of wealth? So I think growing up in that kind of environment, you just don't have a role model. You don't have someone who could show you that, oh, this is how you make hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is how you make millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And unless you break out of that and you go out there and you find some new role models, chances are you're stuck. So I think that would be reason number 1. And I'm sure with growing up, when you were pursuing your fitness career, your business career, I mean, it's not so easy to find role models, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think people have those role models in bodybuilding. You'd have a guy that's bigger. He's stronger. He physically has manifested more muscle or built more muscle through thinking differently, acting differently. And the same thing goes for making money. You just have to ask yourself. I mean, I never met somebody until I was in my mid-20s who introduced to me by my father, whose name was Mike. And Mike was 35 and he didn't work anymore. And I never met a 35-year-old who didn't work anymore. And Mike told me about a book that basically changed my way of thinking forever.
And I think people have to understand that just the whole entire school system, why money is never taught. If you study history, you understand that the whole entire school system was created and developed by basically back then people who are business people, capitalists, that they need employees, right? And they say, you know what, we're struggling to find employees. So why don't we work with the government, create this quote unquote school system to produce employees, to produce people who will work, will trade hours for dollars. Right. So that's why they don't want to teach you business, finance, and how all this stuff works, because then they will not have any more workers, right?
Right. And to produce jobs. And the first time I learned the definition of job, it was very eye-opening. For those who don't know, job stands for just over broke.
Yeah.
And one of the first things you'll start to learn in the world of wealth creation is that it's not your boss's job to make you rich. It's his job or her job to provide you one thing, and that's a paycheck.
That's correct. Just enough so you would get by. And so every month you feel like you're just like you're hanging in there month after month after month after month, and before you know it, 5 years gone by, 10 years gone by,
Right.
15, and then 15 years, you've got kids, you get married, and like all your ambition that you once had, those were all gone. Those
Right.
dreams that you had, you meet so many people, they're like walking zombie, right? Walking dead. You
Yeah.
ask them, it's kind of how are things? Well, it's how it is. Okay, we're getting by.
Same old.
Same old kind of,
The huge.
right?
The huge.
Yeah, like, they think about it when that's not how life is supposed to be. So I think that's reason number one. Now, reason number two is I believe they want to be rich, but they think like a poor person. I always say you cannot be a millionaire with a $50,000 a year habits. So a lot of them, they think like a poor person. The way they look at money, the way they look at time, the way they look at finance, the way they look at business, it's just from a very poor person's mentality. And one of the things we talk about at a podcast that is poor person, they always say, I can't afford it, right? I can't afford something. Versus rich people, we think in terms of ROI, return on investment. I'll give you a perfect example. I always use this metaphor. So just imagine right now, when you're watching this video, imagine I just pulled up at your front lawn, okay, in front of your house, a brand new Ferrari, okay, and I say to you, I knock on your door and say, hey man, I got a brand new Ferrari, and here's the key, and let's say the Ferrari is worth $300,000, and I say to you, you know what, I'm gonna sell to you for 100K. Now, what would you say? What would you say to me? I'm saying I'm gonna sell you this Ferrari for 100K. Now, most people, depends on where you're watching this, depends on where you are at mentally, your mindset, you have different response. I can tell you that most people would say, I can't afford it. I don't have 100K, right? I don't have 100K. Or some people, the negative, what I call the lower self, might even say, well, I don't even like Ferrari, or I don't like red, right? Whatever it is, right? That's how most people think. They are limited by the way that they think, their personal preference. Now, instead, that's a poor person mentality. Instead, if you think like a rich person, here's what I would do. Now, maybe I don't like Ferrari either, but doesn't matter. I would have said, you know what? I'm going to buy it. 100K, I know it's worth 300K. I would have signed a deal on the spot. I would have tied up the deal. I'm going to run an ad maybe on one of these car sites, right? I'm going to say, hey, here's a brand new Ferrari for only 200K. We know it's worth 300. I'm going to sell for 200. I'll tie up the deal for 7 days. I'll do what we call in deal making, a simultaneous close, right? Get both people at the same time. 100K, hand off the key. I'll just make 100K profit. See, it's a very different way of thinking, though, isn't it? Versus, oh, I can't afford it, or I don't like this, or I don't want that. It has nothing to do with the car. It has to do with the way that you think. And you'll see the way that you think about these things reflect in your life. So it's very simple. It's like people ask me the question all the time, like, Dan, how do I know like if I'm thinking right about money? Right? How do I know if I have the mindset or not? I said it's very simple. Look at your fucking results. Look at the fruit. Look at the fruit that you have. You know what kind of root do you have. If you're struggling month by month, paycheck by paycheck, that's the root. That's the programming you're running, right? In your mind. Or you know how also some people I know, entrepreneurs, they make money, they lose money, they make money, they lose money, they make money, they lose money. It's always this roller coaster. Some year they're doing well and then they don't do so well. Again, that's the piece of programming that they have somewhere. That that's how it works. Money, I'm supposed to have a lot of ups and downs. I'm supposed to make it, lose it. Right? That's also a pattern. It's just a different pattern, right? That's also a pattern. That's also not healthy. And rarely you'll find people that could do this. Like, that's why I say, don't study the people, like they make money in a short period of time, like a year. Forget that shit. Study people who have long-term financial success. That year after year after year, I'm talking 10, 20, 30 years, like Warren Buffett, those type of guys, that they are like this, those are the guys you want to study. So people who just made money in a short period of time, that doesn't impress me. Now you take it long term, You study how many guys could sustain that for a long period of time. The people you study, that list becomes very, very short. Because most people, they can make money, but they cannot hold it. They cannot hold the wealth.
Well, so, in an upcoming YouTube video, let's talk about that for sure.
Sure.
That's fantastic. What's the third reason?
I would say is they have subconsciously, not logically, but subconsciously, most people have a negative association with money or rich people. You can even tell, I mean, on YouTube, on social media, I mean, I get haters all the time with the social media presence that we have, right? Oh, like that rich jerk, or you think you're whatever, so fucking arrogant and all this shit, right? Like, they don't even know who you are, but the minute, because money is such an emotionally charged subject that they have these conceived ideas. It's funny, like just yesterday, I was going through my Facebook post, and I have a private Facebook group. One of my students from Singapore was learning from me on how to close, right? And then he was telling his friend about, now here's the thing. We haven't even started the course yet, but he learned some of my strategies from my YouTube channel. He's actually in the fitness business. He's in the fitness business in Singapore, and he bumped up his price, basically double the price, and have the same amount of clients. His friend, who's been with him like 10 years, like buddy, right? It's like, oh my God, how dare you double your price? You're not helping people no more. You've been listening to that Dan Lok guy too much. I hate the guy. Therefore, he said, I hate Dan Lok, this Dan Lok guy. You know, I know he came from no money, but now he's got all these fancy watches and fancy car and all this shit. If I see him, I want to punch him. That's his Facebook post. And I say to my student, you know what? Your friend doesn't hate me, he hates himself. Because I am the reflection. I'm like a mirror of what his life could have been. It's like staring in his face, because I'm an immigrant as well. Couldn't speak a word of English when I first got here. So most people, they have this negative association with money, meaning they don't, growing up, as many have said, if I ask you right now, if you're watching this, if you comment below, yes, some of the things we grow up here, money is the root of all evil, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. Right? Rich people are greedy. They are self-centered. I could go on and on. Like, you can see most people, you don't even need to think. There's no hesitation. You can come up with 10, 20 of these things like that. On the other hand, if I ask you to come up with some positive, it's a lot harder for most people.
You and I could list off a lot of positive things because we know a lot of generous people.
Yeah. But most
people were generous actually before they became rich. That's another topic for another day. But yeah,
that's correct. But for most people, it's all negative shit. So imagine, on one hand, you want to be financially successful, but your brain has this kind of like driving a car. You have this emergency brake on. This is all the negative association with money and rich people. So on one hand, you're pressing the foot on the gas. I want to go faster. I want to be more successful. And then you have this emergency brake on. But most people, they just want to work harder without dealing with the emergency brake. I say, let's deal with the emergency brake. You know what happens? When you release that brake, and you just surge forward. But people don't know where is the brake? How do I release that brake? And that's part of what I teach. You got to release that brake. Then the funny thing is, then what you do becomes secondary. It could be the fitness business. It could be internet marketing business. It doesn't matter. Because once you get this part right, everything works. The business works, right? You keep more of your money. And then money kind of happens. It just flows through your life. I don't want to get, this is not like, I'm talking woo-foo-foo, like, law of attraction bullshit. I'm talking about money is an interesting thing. When you don't chase money, money comes to you. But when you're desperate for money, it doesn't come to you. Money goes to the people who doesn't need it and who knows how to multiply.
That's interesting.
It goes to people who doesn't need it and who knows how to multiply. When I had no money, it was so difficult to go to the bank, even borrow, to get a line of credit for $2,000. I had no fucking money, right? Just before this interview, I was talking to my bank. My banker was calling me, hey, Dan, do you need more money? Can I give you a loan? Do you need more line of credit? What about your credit card? I said, I don't need that shit. No, like when I don't need money, they want to give me more money. When I needed money, they won't even give me $2,000 worth of line of credit, right? That's exactly how this works. So those are
That's
the three.
fantastic. So guys, listen, what we want to do for you is, Dan Lock, sorry, those are the three things. So just to summarize those three things why people struggle financially. One, they were never taught about money. You weren't given any skills. You weren't taught how to think, how to act. Number two, you think like a poor person. And three, you have negative associations with people who are rich or just money in general. And, you know, that number one there, you were never taught about money. You really do need to look at it as a skill, just like you have skills to build your body, skills to, you know, grow a relationship. You need skills to make income. And what Dan and I have done for the first time is that we have collaborated. And at the link below, guys, the first link below, or you'll also see a link on the screen right now, we have created a webinar for you to discover the fastest, no BS way to make an extra $100,000 to $500,000 a year. I'll do the math for you guys. That's an extra $5,000 to $25,000 a month. This could be a primary source of income to fund your online business. It could be a side hustle. It could be something you do as a full-time job income so that you can write your own paycheck. And the best part is that we want to help you do this, show you how to do this without cold calling, without social media, or doing anything online. And this doesn't involve any capital. So if you would like to join myself and Dan as we reveal the number one high income skill that will transform you into a more confident man, a man that gets what he wants, and a man that is able to produce not just wealth for himself, but for his family, so that you can produce generational wealth for years and years to come. And so that you become a man that leaves a legacy and that leaves impact. And I want you to go to that link on the page here or the link in the description below and register now for the webinar. All right. And I'd also love to know your guys' questions. We're going to have Dan back here on the channel, and we're going to do maybe a 2-parter, 3-parter. We'll see how long this goes. This could turn into, who knows, a 12-parter. We want to answer your questions, guys. We want to help you guys not be one of those 78% of people that live paycheck to paycheck. And that really is the opportunity when you get that skill.
Correct.
Dan, thank you so much, guys. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to share it with your friends, anybody who you know who might want to pursue this opportunity with you. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much.